We are so back. The calendar is literally about to turn August in less than 7 days, which is absolutely crazy. It feels like a week ago that I just started putting out videos in the off season of players I like and don't like, and now here we are. It's about to be August, boys. But today's a special one. Today is tier list day. We're gonna do a tier list of the best wide receivers to draft in fantasy. I'm so excited. I cannot wait. Roll the intro. Alrighty, and we're back on Tier Maker. If you guys were watching the videos in the offseason, we did do a Dynasty wide receiver tier list. I had to add a lot of names to this list to make a redraft wide receiver tier list, but here we are. So let's just kick it off. I have S plus and S tier because I just think there's so many good wide receivers in the NFL, and there's really a tier gap between the elite guys and the rest. It doesn't mean that rest of the group isn't elite wide receivers as well. There's a reason why Nico Collins and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Puka Nacua go in the first round, right? It's because they're elite. I know you can't see all the names on the screen, or photos, I should say, of the players, but we're just going to do one. We're going to do two, and this is going to stir up some controversy. I'm sure of it. I believe there are 3 wide receivers in the NFL that are that much better than the rest in fantasy football, and I think that list is Jamar Chase and Malik Nabers. I think due to the fact that there is just so much volume that can go to Malik Nabers on top of him being such a talented player, when high-end wide receivers are given this kind of volume and they produce, that's called the S plus tier of wide receivers. I mean, we have Justin Jefferson, a guy that came into the league and exploded, and the more volume they gave him, the more seasons of 140 targets, he just kept continuing to dominate. And I think Malik Nabers, also another LSU wide receiver, is on that same trajectory as these two superstars. I think this is the coming out party for Malik Nabers, and I think after 2025 drafts, that's going to be your top 3 receivers in order, and I don't think anybody's going to debate it. I think we now have 3 guys that are that much better than the rest. But let's talk about the rest while we're on that discussion of top wide receivers, right? So we're going to have Puka Nacua, CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins, where is he? Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brian Thomas Jr., Drake London. A.J. Brown rounds out what would be, in my opinion, the 10 best wide receivers to draft in fantasy football. Not everyone plays in a 10-man league, obviously. So to extend it to everyone that's a wide receiver 1 is at least an S-tier player. We have Ladd McConkey and Garrett Wilson to finish out the tier. That's going to be your 12 wide receivers. And all of these players that I just listed in S-tier are wide receiver 1s. These are all high-end players. There's just a ceiling that I believe 1, 2, and 3 can reach that this other group of 9 can't. Whether it's for, in some cases, team success and total opportunity. For some, it's staying healthy over the course of a full season, or in some cases, adding another high-end wide receiver or quality wide receiver to their offense, which makes them that less likely to shine in this S tier or top 3 category. Now let's go ahead and discuss the next tier of wide receivers. This is my A tier. My guys that on any given week can be wide receiver 1s statistically. They don't have that full package year over year and aren't going to finish likely in that top 12 range. After debating back and forth on camera for the last few minutes, I think it's probably most fair to put Ladd McConkey and Garrett Wilson starting the A tier. These other guys like Amon-Ra and Nico Collins are probably a different level than these guys at their best, but they are still high-end elite wide receivers. So let's start the A tier with these guys, and let's continue with T. Higgins, JSN, Tyreek Hill. He's got to be there. I don't even know if I believe it, but he's got to be there out of respect. This is another player that has to be there out of respect. And finally, Mike Evans has to be there out of respect. These 8 wide receivers here in A tier are arguably and without a doubt are elite wide receivers in their own right. However, they can be wide receiver ones on any given week, but week to week, it's hard to ask them for that elite wide receiver production. This is an interesting mix of players in this tier because we have veterans like Mike Evans, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, guys that have been at the top of the wide receiver room. And if you want to throw in DJ Moore and T. Higgins, these are wide receiver one friendly people. JSN was a wide receiver one last year. So these are guys that can be wide receiver ones, but they're just not the elite guys. They are very talented in their own right, and we should definitely be drafting them if we have a chance to. The one that concerns me the most is Tyreek Hill, because we know Tyreek Hill at his peak is up here, right? For now, he has to reside in A just until we see a little bit more, but he's still without a doubt one of the best. Now let's move on to the A- tier. These are probably more of your wide receiver twos, mostly high-end wide receiver twos in this tier, but let's go over and we'll talk about them. Marvin Harrison Jr., Devontae Smith, Xavier Worthy, Zay Flowers, Cortland Sutton, and lastly, Jawan Jennings. Again, this is an interesting group of wide receivers. There's really only, well, I shouldn't say only. There are 4 guys in this tier that are the best wide receiver on their team. If you want to exclude Marvin Harrison for Trey McBride, then you have 3 guys on their team that are the best pass catcher. Whether it's your team doesn't throw the ball enough, whether it's there are other emerging options in your offense that may hinder you from being in A, which can also be the case for this one. There's a lot of interesting ranges of outcomes for these players, but we no doubt know that they're going to be reliable. I mean, you may make the case that you don't know that from Marvin Harrison Jr., but I definitely know that Marvin Harrison Jr. has to have a better season than he did last year, right? And if that's going to be more touchdowns, more volume, more opportunities, then he's going to be right in this high-end mid-wide receiver 2 territory. The B+ tier is a little more interesting. This is really the my guys territory. These are players that I think are on the verge of being better than just wide receiver 2s. And that list is going to be Rome Odunze, Jalen Waddle, Jacoby Myers, obviously. If you watch the videos, you know. And if you watch the TikToks and the shorts, you know Calvin Ridley is my guy too. So these are 3 players that, even though they're slated and ranked as wide receiver 2s, I'm not ready to put them in this category below. And I think there's a chance that they go in this tier. Maybe knock some guys out of this range and jump right in there. They're the next group to break into A- in my opinion. So they get B+ for that reason. Now let's talk the B squad. These are still quality wide receivers, maybe not wide receiver 2s anymore, but guys that are more than capable of reaching and surpassing their ADP. So those players are Jalen Waddle, George Pickens, DK Metcalf, Jamison Williams, Tet McMillan, Khalil Shakir, and finally, Emeka Egbuka. Now, I know that sounds crazy because he's a rookie. Why Egbuka over or in the same range as Tet McMillan, who's clearly a number 1 wide receiver in his offense? Why Egbuka over Chris Godwin, his teammate? Why him over Rashee Rice? Why Travis Hunter? Let's talk about it. Emeka Egbuka, if Chris Godwin is starting the season on the PUP, will probably be slated into the second wide receiver role because he has the versatility to play the slot, play outside. They can put him at any of the positions on the field. If you don't believe me, you can listen to Baker Mayfield say it himself. Emeka Egbuka is a quality wide receiver. He's going to put a lot of people on game in year 1, and maybe you're afraid to take him because Jalen McMillan soared at the end of last season. But this is a whole different breed of player. This is a quality wide receiver in fantasy, and we should be buying him up while the stock is low. And finally, everybody else is going to fall in line in below B, potential for B or B-. And we're going to go through each one and talk about why they have that potential to go into B or B+. We'll start here at Ricky Pearsall. This is somebody that is probably going to be the 3rd option in his offense. So that kind of starts him below B tier already. Not the best passing offense. That doesn't help either. I don't think Jawan Jennings' job is completely set in stone. I don't know when Brandon Ayuk is going to come back from injury. All of these variables start to now give an opportunity for Ricky Pearsall to show what he could do in the NFL and carve out a role in their offense. Josh Downs is another example of that, but Josh Downs has been a little more put on game and was very productive in the games he played last year. Super efficient. I mean, in terms of like next gen and advanced stats, he really has it all, Josh Downs. In a wide receiver room that's crowded, unlike the San Francisco 49ers, this is an offense that you do not want to be rostering in fantasy. You want as little Colts players as possible, which is unfortunate to say. So for those reasons, he is going to start outside of the B tier, but I like Josh Downs' chances of breaking into that group of players above him, like Khalil Shakir, Mecca Ibuka, J-Mo. I think that would be the ceiling for him. Matthew Golden, again, another wide receiver in a crowded wide receiver room. I'm going to go ahead and say that talent wins out at the end of the day. And that's why guys like Matthew Golden and Josh Downs are in this tier, because I think they're much talented than the rest of the room and could eventually push their way to make a case for a starting roster spot. Jordan Addison, unfortunately, this is more so because of a suspension. When he comes back on the field, there's no doubt about it, he's just as good as the B+ tier, or even could make, now you probably can't make a case for A- yet, but could make the case for B+ for sure. Travis Hunter, rookie. Don't know how much he's going to play on offense, so for that reason I can't put him in B, but definitely has the potential to be there. Chris Olave has all of the talent and the skill in the world, is just lacking the quarterback position, and if he could stay healthy this year, which is another thing he lacks at times, this could be a player that exceeds expectations for a lot of people. Maybe is a reason that their fantasy team doesn't completely go down the drain in the beginning of the season. Chris Olave, never been somebody that's been so high to draft him because the ADP just never made sense to me, but now the ADP is almost too good to be true. So you could take him and hope that maybe he grows into something better. Chris Godwin on the pup list, kind of just spoke about it with Mecca Ibuka. When he comes back, there's no reason why he can't pick up where he left off last year. But until then, he's got to hope and pray that Emeka Ibuka does not take away his opportunities. Moving on, Brandon Ayuk, someone else we spoke about. But again, just to cover it briefly, he was struggling at times last year before the injury. Started to maybe turn it around, then got hurt. Brandon Ayuk at this point is a question mark. It's not, there's no guarantee that he's going to come back and be a pseudo wide receiver one like he was a couple years ago. So something to keep in mind. He's got to start there for that. And Rashee Rice has to start down here because of his suspension. Why? Because we don't know how many games he's going to be suspended for. If he's suspended for 4 games, maybe he's on par with the B tier. Maybe he gives you a push into the playoffs. 6-game suspension, 8-game suspension, anything more than 4, really? I don't think he's a B asset anymore. I think he's a below B tier player, and that's why he goes here, unfortunately. That's going to wrap it up for our tier list. If I missed a wide receiver that you think deserves to be on this tier list, if I put somebody in a tier that they don't deserve to be in, let me know in the comments below. We could have a discussion about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. My name is Turtle. This is Outlier Fantasy, and I will see you in the next video. Wow, you stuck to the end of this video? Thank you so much. If you're new here, make sure you check out one of these videos on the screen right now. And don't forget, before you leave, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any fantasy football videos on this channel. And that's all I got for you guys. I'll see you in the next one.